Back, everybody. Just want to start off every segment, I think, with the current call. If you're not following along, right now, 3 states have been called for Trump: Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia. That gives them 24 votes. 3 have been called for Clinton. That's Vermont. She's currently leading, and this is going to surprise you. She's currently leading. Well, not. She's in New Hampshire. She's leading. That shouldn't surprise anybody. Although New Hampshire, they say, is going to be close. Florida. And we'll talk about this in a second too. We're talking about metrics. She's also leading South Carolina right now, which that's not going to hold up. She's behind in Ohio, Virginia, North Carolina. Oh, South Carolina just went back to pink. Google's got this thing. Every time it flips, they go from one to another. So her Florida lead is tight with 15% reporting. Virginia, I thought, would look more competitive earlier, but it looks like a lot of the rural counties are coming in first, and a lot of this, and that's pretty typical across the country. So we'll see if that changes at all as more of the vote comes in. But Doc, you want to talk about different metrics? So this morning, I saw on CBS was reporting they were criticizing this thing that Slate and Vice News are doing, this webcast thing. Have you seen that?
No,
it's a live tracking of of what they expect the vote turnout to be using early vote and some other polling metrics. And why I say that it's weird, I didn't really understand. I didn't read too much into the methodology, but it was showing like, hey, here's where the turnout was in 2012, and here's where we expected. Here's this bar is filling up. And Hillary was beating the pants off Trump in Florida, in Pennsylvania. Well, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. And they're doing just these few states that had a lot of early voting, and she was beating him barely in Iowa, which we don't expect to happen, and Ohio and Nevada as well. And we'll see, but Florida is expected to have record turnout, and it's expected to have record Hispanic turnout. Is all the reports of early voting and coming in early this morning have been saying is that Florida is going to be crazy. So if she wins Florida and holds on to everything else, it's over, right?
I would agree with that. Trump needs Ohio. Looks like, and keep in mind none of the polls are closed, but it looks like he's going to do well in Ohio. We already know California is out. He's up by 11 points in Missouri, which is not a big deal. But what is a big deal is the incumbent Republican senator down there is barely hanging on to his lead, and there's his presidential contender up by 11 points. Some of the metrics that people use, there's several people that have changed their metrics and how they predict who's going to win because the polls have been so wildly inconsistent. It's like it's not a tempest in a teapot. What it's really like is in the middle of a piranha frenzy. If you've ever seen one of those on National Geographic, water's just everywhere and there's no calm. That's one of the things is don't get me wrong, things are bad. You always have to listen to negative ads, but there has been such an air of negativity and outright bastardization of our process. And you can blame a lot of things. You can blame an oligarch running. You can blame, somebody who has, always gets mud on her and some of it seems to stick. You can blame social media, which I believe is a legitimate thing. But the problem is our entire system has been bastardized and usurped. And this isn't how you're supposed to get a statesman at the end of this entire process.
Well, you know what?
It's ridiculous.
David Brooks, and you know what else? Other thing I was gonna bring this up here in a second. But one thing that we did forget to mention. Oh, I know that you said it last week when it happened on last Wednesday. But just from me, Doc already mentioned this for me, but from my perspective, the 2 fallen police officers, Benimino and Martin. That's right. I was going to say Walter, but Martin. Benimino and Martin. To their families, I cannot understand or sympathize enough with your grief, and it was a horrible day. It was a horrible day to think of. and to hear about this. But it goes to this point I'm about to make, that this year, it feels like at least more than any other year, we have had just what looks like to be an outright attack on institutions. And David Brooks made a point that the reason we have, he was talking about Trump, whatever, and take it for what it's worth. The reason we have this is because for years and years and years, we have been deriding institutions as corrupt. We've been deriding people that run them as bought and sold, and belittling. And he's calling it a pox in both their houses. I mean, and you know what? It makes sense. So I think that Donald Trump is completely unqualified. I did not think that John McCain was unqualified to be president. I didn't think that Mitt Romney necessarily was unqualified. He'd been a governor. He'd thought deeply about issues related to the country. He had been involved in politics for a really long time. The way that the Democratic Party machine went after John McCain and Mitt Romney as the biggest risk to the state of all time is wrong. From my perspective, we're seeing what a bigger risk is now. And that kind of rhetoric has contributed in no small part to the divisiveness, the what you call the bastardization, the undermining of institutions that makes people like your friends say, I don't care about any of this stuff anymore. And they just want to give up. They want to give up completely. They don't want to worry about it. They want to be left alone. They don't want to participate. And it makes you sad because in situations like this, folks, we need more politics. We need more politics, not less. We need more engagement. We need more arguing with each other in a constructive way. We need more reaching out to compromise on differences. We need less, not necessarily less principle, but we need less hills to die on. We need things that we can work on. We need things that we can fix. And when we don't trust the institutions or the people that are in charge or the people that are running them, how are we ever going to do that?
Well, and that's excellent. Everyone, like I said, I think it's Lefty's night to really impress the heck out of me. So that was awesome. I do feel terrible about forgetting about the officers. I did know Justin Martin.
You didn't on the day that it counted, but this is the first chance that we've had to be able to address it.
And Justin Martin, it's not like we hung out and had beers, but he often would be down at the skate park, just talking to the kids down there, walking around. Hey, what's going on? He's a college-educated guy. I didn't know the Des Moines police officer, but this is it's a terrible thing that is completely senseless and completely out of line. I don't know. I'm I do support the death penalty, but I'm not a big fan of yanking that out. But honest to goodness, just slaying somebody sitting in their car, not doing anything, not heat of the moment. There's something's got to be done more permanent than just jail. That's my opinion. And on that note, we're going to be back after this break to talk more about the metrics of the election. And I hope you'll stay with us because without you, we couldn't do what we do. We'll be back right after this break.